Mark is an ugly virgin loser who somehow managed to get stabbed by his psycho girlfriend during a date. He really picked the worst possible romance route and got himself deleted from existence. And just like that, he got isekai'd into another world. But fate still hated his guts because when he opened his eyes again, the first thing he saw was an old ugly goblin staring directly into his soul like a sleep paralysis demon. Turns out he had been reincarnated as a goblin himself. The old goblin gave him the name Gobru and immediately shoved a fat maggot down his throat for protein. Since Gobru was still a baby, he couldn't even protest. On the second day, he woke up surrounded by a bunch of ugly green goblin babies and finally realized he was one of them too. Absolute downgrade. The man spent the rest of the day mourning the loss of his human face like somebody canceled his premium skincare subscription. By day 3, he noticed goblins grew insanely fast compared to humans. At least he could walk and talk again now, even though he still looked like a bald, expired avocado. Gobru decided crying wouldn't solve shit, so he prepared to survive in this new world. On day 4, the goblin elder gathered all the young goblins together while holding a tray full of disgusting maggots. The old man roasted them for being freeloaders and basically told them to get off their asses and hunt their own food. Gobru nearly threw up eating those things, but protein was protein, so down the hatch they went. After leaving the cave, he finally saw the outside world filled with strange plants and monsters. Another goblin nervously followed him outside like a scared kid on his first school trip. Gobru found out the guy's name was Gopkichi. The dude wasn't exactly a genius, but he was built like a walking refrigerator, so Gobru figured he would make decent bait for hunting. Soon they spotted a rabbit monster. Gobru sent Gopkichi charging straight at it while he hid in a tree nearby. The rabbit panicked and ran exactly where Gobru wanted. The second it got close enough, he jumped down and snapped its spine with a stick, like a psychopath speedrunning survival mode. The strategy worked perfectly, but Gopkichi immediately got greedy over the meat. Gobru had to smack some common sense back into his empty skull before preparing the rabbit for dinner. While cutting it up, Gobru noticed the rabbit's horn could work as a weapon. Then some weird system notification suddenly popped up in his head, but nobody had explained any of this tutorial nonsense to him. Before he could think about it, Gopkichi recovered from the ass beating and started inhaling rabbit meat like a starving raccoon. By day 5, the two kept hunting together, and Gobru fully upgraded to using rabbit horns as weapons. Every time he harvested one, another strange notification appeared. Then, while eating rabbit meat, his eyes suddenly glowed blue and he discovered he had absorbed the rabbit's escape skill. That was when everything clicked. In his past life, he had possessed a rare ability called Absorption, which allowed him to gain powers from whatever he ate. Apparently, death had reset most of his old abilities, but at least this one survived the reincarnation. Gobru realized this forest was basically one giant all-you-can-eat power buffet. On day 6, Gobru's cooking skills somehow started attracting female goblins. One goblin girl was shocked that he and Gopkichi managed to hunt horned rabbits since other goblins died trying. She also had actual hair, which confirmed Gobru and Gopkichi were not naturally bald. Gobru invited her to join the next hunt, and she got way too excited over that offer. But on day 7, heavy rain ruined the hunting trip. Since he had nothing better to do, Gobru explored deeper inside the cave and found a horrifying sight. Human women were being held prisoner there, proving Goblin Slayer had been warning everybody for a damn reason. Gobru tried not to think about it and focused on crafting weapons instead. That was when the elder goblin Gobji approached him. The old man noticed Gobru had an unusual desire to survive and believed he would level up much faster than normal goblins. Gobru didn't even know this world had levels, so Gobji told him to tap his forehead. After doing it, Gobru discovered Gobji was level 86. The elder explained that reaching level 100 allowed evolution into higher species. The crazy part was that Gobji looked ancient, despite only being in his 20s because goblins aged like milk left out in the sun. Before leaving, Gobji mentioned that evolved hobgoblins would soon return to the village, though something about the conversation left Gobru uneasy. The next day, the weather finally cleared up, and Gobru headed out hunting with Gopkichi and the goblin girl Gopmi. Somehow this trio already fought together like experienced adventurers despite existing for barely over a week. They returned with piles of meat, and Gobmi nearly cried after tasting how good it was. Meanwhile, Gobru gained several new skills after eating snake meat. But on day 11, the trio made a dumb mistake and wandered into a random cave because apparently survival instincts were optional. Inside waited a giant swarm of vampire bats. The group instantly turned around and ran for their lives, but the bats were way too fast. Realizing escape was impossible, Gobru and Gopkichi stayed behind to fight while Gobmi panicked in the background. Gobru suddenly activated an evil eye ability and froze the entire swarm in place. The bats became free experience points after that. The trio slaughtered every last one and started eating them because apparently these goblins solved every problem through cannibalistic meal prep. Gobru gained new skills like echolocation, venom resistance, and probably 3 unknown diseases. corpses. While they feasted, other starving goblins showed up begging for food because they were too lazy and stupid to hunt themselves. That night, those same idiots tried ambushing Gobru out of jealousy. Unfortunately for them, Gobru had already gained a search skill and sensed their sneaky asses coming from a mile away. He fought back and accidentally killed one goblin after miscalculating his venom ability. Gobru didn't even feel guilty since they literally tried to murder him first. Then Gobmi showed up and unleashed absolute hell on the attackers for touching her precious Gobru. The next day, the trio went back hunting again and prepared a coordinated attack against an orc peacefully minding its own business. Afterward, the trio devoured the orc meat because apparently every problem in this world could be solved through violence and eating corpses. But there was way too much meat left, so Gobru decided to drag everything back to the cave. Once they returned, he shocked the starving goblins by offering everybody free food. At first, the goblins hesitated like suspicious alley cats, but eventually they dropped to their knees and started inhaling meat like they had never seen food before. Watching them made Gobru realized he had changed. In his past life, he would never have shared anything with anybody. But Reincarnation had apparently turned this former loser into a semi-functional leader. That night, while trying to sleep, Gobru kept hearing annoying notifications screaming in his head about meeting evolution requirements. Bro was too tired to care and passed out anyway. The next morning, he woke up looking completely different. He looked closer to his old human self, his body was stronger, and most importantly, the man finally escaped the bald goblin curse. Gopkichi evolved too, while Gobmi looked at both of them like proud parents watching two idiots survive kindergarten. When Gobjai saw them, the old goblin nearly had a heart attack after learning they evolved into hobgoblins within only 2 weeks. Gopkichi immediately wanted to test his new strength and challenged Gobru to a fight because apparently violence was this species' love language. The two started throwing hands in the forest, and although Gopkichi had become much stronger, he still fought like a raging refrigerator with anger issues. Gobru dodged his attacks, swept his legs, and humbled him with technique alone. Gopkichi admitted defeat, but Gobru gave him credit since the guy's raw strength was already monstrous. Suddenly, Gobru heard wolves nearby and instantly sensed danger. He called Gobmi over from her hiding spot because she had been spying on them like a little goblin FBI agent. He ordered her to grab the crossbow because things were about to get ugly. Nearby, a wolf pack was tearing through rabbits before setting its sights on an unlucky orc just minding his business. That poor orc ran for his life, but the wolves caught him and ripped him apart like discounted Black Friday shoppers. Watching the massacre, Gobru decided these wolves would make perfect test subjects for their new evolved powers. Gobmi sniped the alpha wolf with the crossbow while Gobru and Gopkichi charged in. Without their leader, the wolves instantly lost all teamwork and got folded one by one. Only the alpha remained alive long enough for Gobru to take a massive bite out of it, like a starving lunatic. That meal rewarded him with several new abilities, including leadership skills. After dragging the dead wolves back home, Gobru let the goblins feast again, but this time he laid down the law. If they wanted food in the future, they had to hunt for themselves instead of acting like unemployed cave decorations. The goblins begged him to teach them how to survive, and Gobru agreed. He started training them to hunt, craft weapons, and fight properly. Slowly, the goblins began respecting him, and he naturally became their leader. Whether it was because of his leadership skill or because everybody else shared one brain cell collectively, nobody really knew. Then, day 17 hit with a brutal reality check. The captured human women took their own lives, unable to endure everything that had happened. Gobru held a quiet memorial with Gobjai, and for once, the story actually slowed down long enough to breathe. By day 24, Gobru spent most of his time training goblins and hunting stronger monsters to absorb more abilities. But then, another goblin group suddenly showed up at the cave. Gobru prepared for battle immediately, only for Gobjai to explain, these were the Goblin Raiders, basically the deadbeat fathers of the younger generation. The Raiders returned carrying more captured human women, proudly celebrating like absolute scumbags because the previous captives had died. Gobru learned that goblin DNA was so ridiculously dominant that every child born from another species still came out looking like a goblin DLC character.
Nice.
Even Gobru, who had adapted to a lot of crazy stuff already, was disgusted by the situation. He requested custody of the women so they would not be abused, but the raider leader refused instantly. Tension exploded between both goblin factions until two female hobgoblins named Hobasto and Hobze stepped in before the cave turned into WWE Goblin Edition. They proposed settling everything with a duel between leaders. The raider leader accepted, expecting to crush Gobru easily. Unfortunately for him, Gobru pulled out spider silk abilities he had gained from eating a demon spider leader earlier. The dude got tied up and humiliated in seconds while everybody watched in disbelief. Gobru officially became the new village leader after that beatdown, and nobody was dumb enough to challenge him. He promised the human women nobody would touch them anymore and even planned to return them home someday. Of course, Gobru was not entirely selfless. After questioning the women, he learned they had traveled as merchants before the goblins attacked their caravan and slaughtered everybody else. On day 28, Gobru noticed the women pretending to stay cheerful just to survive mentally. So he cooked for them and learned their talents. 2 of them were skilled cooks and tailors. 1 girl was an alchemist, another was a blacksmith and appraiser, and the red-haired girl was a rookie warrior. Gobru immediately dragged her into training because suffering builds character apparently. Then, day 31 arrived with heavy rain and another intense sparring match between Gobru and Gopkichi. That same night, Gobru sent several goblins sneaking toward the human women. These horny idiots really looked at Gobru's rules and said, "Challenge accepted." Gobru instantly sliced one of them down and dragged the others outside. He forced the entire village to watch as he beat the absolute dogshit out of them to make an example. The message became crystal clear. Anybody touching the women without permission would suffer horribly. Gobru stopped short of killing them, but one goblin named Habuken got beaten so badly his body clocked out the next morning anyway. On day 32, Gobru's squad pulled up once again with teamwork so disgusting, it looked like they had been grinding ranked matches for years. Their target this time was a massive tri-horn horse, and that beast was built like nature accidentally mixed a rhino with a tank. After bringing the monster down, he unlocked a new skill called Triple Burst, which basically let him hit somebody 3 times with a single attack. Bro was slowly turning into a walking cheat code. That night, the fiery redhead girl climbed into Gobru's bed because the trauma from the previous night still had her mentally cooked. Gobru let her stay, but when he woke up, he found Gobmi there too. Around the same time, another goblin girl named Gob evolved into a hobgoblin. The village itself was becoming more organized too. Gobmi handled ranged attacks. Gopkichi led the fighters. Hobasto commanded the mobile squad. Gobi handled support duties like an exhausted single mother. And Hobza was somehow carrying the entire mage department alone. Later that day, Gobru left training to the others and headed deep into the forest to test his new demise magic. The dude unleashed one spell and completely vaporized a tri-horn in a single hit. Thinking he was him, Gobru wandered into the forbidden northern forest. The place looked like a murder documentary set, covered in blood and ripped corpses. Then he remembered Gobjai warning everyone never to enter, because a monster called the Red Bear ruled the area. Unfortunately, Gobru had already walked straight into the boss arena. The Red Bear appeared while casually tearing apart a tri-horn like it was opening a bag of chips. Gobru instantly realized this thing was on another level. Any normal person would have turned around immediately, but Gobru's brain had already been replaced with monster steak and bad decisions. So instead of running, he decided he wanted to eat the damn thing. Back in the village, Gobmi started panicking because Gobru had been gone too long. Meanwhile, Gobru launched his demise magic at the bear, only for the monster to sacrifice its own arm just to block the attack. The beast then charged him like a flaming freight train. Gobru tried attacking its skull, but his weapon barely scratched it before the bear launched him across the forest like unwanted mail. He wrapped the monster in spider silk, but the bear broke free instantly and suddenly unleashed fire breath. The forest exploded into flames while Gobru healed himself mid-fight. Even after taking brutal damage, he kept attacking and eventually used the creature's own fire breath against it, stabbing directly through its mouth. For a second, he thought he had won. Then the bear smacked him again so hard, reality itself probably buffered for a moment. Gobru managed to survive, but barely. At least his blade got lodged inside the bear's mouth, stopping it from using more fire attacks. Still, the monster kept charging forward like an angry boss that forgot its health bar was supposed to be empty. Gobru was one hit away from death, yet this lunatic still kept talking about how good the bear would taste. During the final clash, he lost an arm but finally managed to kill the monster on day 34. After the battle, he immediately started devouring the red bear because priorities matter. The meat granted him ridiculous new powers, insane strength, and heavy damage resistance. Then the evolution notifications appeared again, announcing he had unlocked the rare ogre species. Half dead and too exhausted to read anything properly, Gobru blindly accepted the evolution like somebody clicking terms and conditions without thinking. On day 35, after eating even more bear meat, Gobru noticed his knife looked weirdly small. Then it hit him. The man had become a full-blown ogre. When he returned home, the goblins nearly pissed themselves, thinking a monster had invaded the village. Everybody panicked and wished Gobru was around to save them, not realizing the giant smiling nightmare walking toward them was literally him. Thankfully, Gobmi recognized him immediately. She screamed at him for disappearing so long and even hurt herself while punching him. She was furious about his missing arm too, while everyone else stood there shocked shocked that this dude had somehow killed the red bear only 1 month after being born. Gobji was especially stunned, calling Gobru the monster who defeated the ruler of the northern forest. Ever since evolving into an ogre, Gobmi practically glued herself to him non-stop, like an emotionally unstable backpack. Before dealing with that mess, Gobru needed new clothes because his transformation turned his old outfit into toddler-sized garbage. When he entered the storage room, the human girls didn't even recognize him at first. After proving his identity, one of the girls got excited over fixing his broken axe while another proudly showed him a knife she forged from a magic stone. Gobru praised her work with a head pat, and the poor girl reacted like she had just won the lottery. Gobmi and the redhead immediately looked ready to start a jealousy war. Then Gobru visited the green-haired alchemist girl and discovered she had secretly been brewing poison. She admitted she originally planned to kill every goblin in the cave, but changed her mind after realizing Gobru and some of the others were actually trustworthy. The next day, Gobru realized he could no longer spar with normal goblins, because even holding back almost killed them. Gopkichi took that news horribly and stormed off hunting alone to cope with his bruised warrior ego. The rest of the village carried on normally, while Gobru finally got a peaceful moment sewing beside Hobsa. Even though he lost an arm fighting the red bear, his slime abilities compensated for it enough that he could still function. The next day, while Gobru was casually eating lunch, Gob suddenly came running over carrying an injured carbuncle bleeding everywhere. Gobru tried healing the creature, but it had lost too much blood already. Realizing basic healing would not be enough, he rushed to get the alchemist involved before the poor thing turned into magical roadkill. After getting treated, the carbuncle finally woke up looking confused as hell, staring around at all the strangers like somebody rebooted her in the wrong save file. The group explained everything, and she immediately thanked them for saving her life. She introduced herself as Returner and revealed that humans had attacked her recently, leaving her in that horrible condition. Apparently, the gemstone on a carbuncle's forehead was worth an absurd amount of money, enough to make greedy humans lose the last functioning brain cell they had left. Returner then begged Gobru for help escaping the adventurers hunting her down because her condition was already beyond saving. She explained that she was an artificial carbuncle created long ago by a legendary wizard named Velvet to guard his treasures. During the attack, the magical core keeping her alive got damaged badly, so she knew her time was almost up. If Gobru protected her from the adventurers, she would hand over the wizard's entire treasure stash. Gobru heard the word treasure and instantly activated goblin capitalism mode. The man gathered everybody together and announced they were about to raid the place while scaring the absolute life out of some humans along the way. Once they arrived near the treasure site, Gobru told the others to hide while he handled negotiations himself. Unfortunately, the adventurers found him first and immediately surrounded him. The humans started complaining about having to deal with an ogre now too, but they still decided to attack because apparently common sense was illegal in this forest. One assassin tried sneaking behind Gobru for a cheap shot, only for Gobru to casually catch the blade barehanded like he was swatting a mosquito. The adventurers were stunned their stealth specialist got exposed so easily. Gobru then roasted the hell out of them for invading somebody else's property, attacking the guardian, and still acting like victims. Even after all that, he generously offered them a chance to leave alive. Instead, these idiots attacked him anyway. Gobru dodged their attacks effortlessly and warned them one last time before finally losing patience. The second reality hit them that they picked the wrong monster to fight. Gobru trapped them, using earth magic, and called in the squad to jump them like unpaid debt collectors. After the beatdown, the goblins robbed the adventurers blind and kicked them out half naked with their pride shattered. Gobru then consumed all of the magic items they carried, because apparently this man would eat literally anything that gave stats. Doing so unlocked a broken item box skill capable of storing over 100,000 items. Since Gobru kept his promise, Returner guided the group to the Wizard Velvet's hidden treasure room. The place was stacked with magical gear everywhere. Returner explained that Velvet specialized in communicating with spirits, which was how he collected so many spirit stones. But her time finally ran out. She thanked Gobru one last time before disappearing forever, leaving only the gemstone from her forehead behind. Naturally, Gobru ate that too because grief lasts 5 seconds in this world before somebody starts snacking again. After a short moment of silence, the goblins started looting the place like raccoons in a supermarket. Gobru's new item box carried everything easily, but before leaving, Gobru decided Velvet's corpse deserved a proper send-off instead of rotting alone forever. He burned the body, and after it turned to ash, a mysterious gauntlet remained behind. Gobru immediately equipped it without hesitation, because this man never learned the stranger danger. The gauntlet fused directly onto his missing arm and completely replaced it. The thing was insane. It could rotate, produce poison, create strings, and function exactly like a normal arm. Gobru basically upgraded himself with DLC content. The next day, he spent hours sorting through the legendary wizard's loot. Since everything belonged to Velvet, the items were ridiculously overpowered. Gobru distributed magical gear fairly among the 15 hobgoblins and his captains, while keeping a vermilion spear and a magical bracelet for himself. Bro now carried 3 legendary items like he was preparing for New Game Plus. By day 40, Gobru started organizing battles to figure out which hobgoblins were strongest. The next morning, he ventured into the forest searching for stronger prey, and instantly one-shotted a golden spider. After eating it, he gained the ability to create golden threads. As he wandered deeper, he arrived beneath a glowing tree and realized too late that he entered Dryad territory. Gobji had warned him about Dryads before. These creatures lured intelligent males in and drained them dry. Gobru told himself he would never fall for something so dangerous. Then, a Dryad showed up, got close to him, and this idiot folded instantly. The moment he remembered he was still technically a virgin in this world, all rational thought left his body. What followed next was basically 5 straight hours of Gobru losing a battle against hormones. By the end of it, the Dryad was begging him to visit again sometime soon. Gobru later went to a waterfall to clean himself up, only for a squad of lizardmen to attack him for absolutely no reason. He slaughtered them along with every other fool dumb enough to jump him that day. The following morning, Gobru discovered 2 goblins had talent for magic, so he assigned them to train under Hobsa. Judging by her expression though, she looked about as excited as a teacher getting handed extra homework. Meanwhile, every woman inside the cave suddenly started acting cold toward Gobru. The poor guy had no clue why, until he asked the green-haired alchemist girl. She bluntly explained that everybody knew he had been fooling around because the Dryad marks covering his body were impossible to miss. Basically, every girl was jealous he picked a tree woman before them. Even the calm green-haired girl admitted she felt the same way, except unlike the others, she decided to actually do something about it. Gobru folded immediately because this man had the emotional resistance of wet paper. Gobmi refused to get left behind either, and apparently every other girl reached the same conclusion at the exact same time. Let's just say things escalated so badly afterward that Gobru eventually had to create a soundproof wall around his room. Whatever chaos happened behind that wall stayed behind that wall. Nobody needed those details haunting them forever. Sometime later, Gobru sensed unfamiliar people approaching the cave, and it turned out to be a squad of fancy elves looking stressed as hell. Apparently humans were chasing them down trying to steal their treasure. So these pointy-eared drama queens came begging the goblins for help. Their leader talked with the attitude of somebody who had never been punched in the face before, but he still offered several months' worth of food in exchange for protection. Gobji thought it sounded like a great deal. But Gobru rejected the offer instantly. He honestly did not care about their problems. What annoyed him was the way they asked for help while acting arrogant at the same time. The elf leader got offended and prepared to attack, but Gobru shut everybody up with one terrifying glare that practically squeezed the confidence out of their bodies. He even warned the hidden archers to back off, but those geniuses still fired arrows at him anyway. After that embarrassment, the elves finally calmed down. On day 45, Gobru hunted down 20 gray slimes and absorbed their cores. That unlocked several new abilities, including fluid regeneration and auto-replication. After experimenting, he discovered he could create tiny clones of himself using his own blood and even share senses with them. The man instantly started cooking up ideas. By day 46, he had the girls sew clothes lined with his blood so the fabric could work as emergency communication devices. On day 47, one of his tiny scouts discovered the elves had returned because apparently humiliation was not enough to teach them lessons. This time, Gobru released a monstrous roar from inside the cave that froze the elves in fear before he casually walked out and grabbed them like naughty children. Their leader started whining about his damaged pride and claimed Gobru deserved death for disrespecting him. Meanwhile, the other elves apologized for their leader being an absolute idiot. Gobru decided the leader was already dead, but the others still had a chance. He organized mock battles between the goblins and elves, declaring the losers would die while the winners survived. If they wanted to live, they needed to earn it. Out of 23 elves, 6 lost their matches. Coincidentally, every loser was male. Gobru secretly admitted he rigged the fights because he did not enjoy seeing women die. Then he informed the surviving elves that they were now prisoners. They honestly thought they were going home after trying to kill everybody. Gobji got way too excited hearing they had elf prisoners, but Gobru immediately reminded him about the village rules regarding captives. The old goblin promised to behave even though he looked one bad day away from getting locked on a watch list. On day 48, Gopkichi finally reached level 100. By day 49, he evolved into an insane new form with dark red skin blessed by the demigod of flame and iron-hard skin blessed by the the demigod of war. Gopkichi explained he hated seeing Gobru train alone after becoming an ogre, so he worked desperately to catch up. The two rivals immediately started another brutal sparring session outside the cave. Gobru still won in the end, but this time, Gopkichi actually managed to keep up surprisingly well. On day 51, Gobru noticed the village evolving rapidly. 4 new hobgoblins appeared, including one future mage and one future cleric named Hobuchi, who promised to heal as many people as possible. Hobse evolved as well, becoming a half-spell lord. Gobru noticed the markings on her arms looked strangely similar to his own. She demonstrated her ridiculous mana reserves by unleashing a gigantic fire attack and casually mentioned she could spam 20 more of them. That was terrifying considering she had not even fully evolved yet. Gobru rewarded her with new gear while Hobasto quietly started competing with her out of jealousy. Gobru eventually realized the village's insane growth rates were likely happening because of him. Goblins apparently developed faster depending on the environment during their first month of life, and living beside Gobru was basically like living next to a walking steroid factory. On day 52, many older goblins became frustrated because the younger generation had completely surpassed them. Feeling left behind, they decided to leave the village. Surprisingly, Gobru did not kill or punish them. Since they were not stealing anything, he respected their choice and even gifted them a magical knife as a farewell present. Honestly, the man handled breakups better than most humans. On day 53, Gobru found a dying human killed by an orc. After eating the corpse, because of course he did, he inherited an interesting skill called Monster Tamer. That same night, the alchemist girl finally succeeded in making alcohol, and Gobru looked happier than a divorced dad at a barbecue. On day 54, Gobru officially announced the older goblins had left and offered anybody else the chance to join them. Nobody accepted. Instead, the village celebrated together with drinks. By day 55, Gobru started creating earrings infused with his blood so everybody could communicate remotely. On day 57, Gob defeated a Trihorn, giving Gobru the perfect chance to test his Monster Tamer ability. It worked flawlessly, and the Trihorn became their first familiar. By day 58, Gobru had already added a massive great bear and the alpha of a black wolf pack to his collection. Then, day 59 arrived with another shock. The weak red-haired girl from before transformed into a deadly warrior. While eating together, she suddenly unlocked a new job class called Shadow Soldier. Gobru explained that she would need to regularly consume monster meat or die. Gobru received reports that humans had started attacking goblins throughout the forest. On day 60, Gobru suddenly sensed a group of kobolds running toward the cave while being chased by something so terrifying even his search ability could barely detect it. The moment the kobolds arrived, everyone saw an entire army of magically animated skeletons flooding through the forest behind them. Gobmi's archers immediately fired arrows, but the skeletons tanked the shots like cheap movie extras refusing to die. There were way too many undead for normal combat, and even Gopkichi realized things were about to become a complete disaster. Luckily, Gobru noticed one massive signal hidden behind the horde and figured out some main monster was controlling the whole army. While the others fought desperately, Hobasto accidentally revealed the skeleton's weakness. Cutting them apart barely worked, but smashing them to pieces absolutely destroyed them. Instantly, everybody started throwing away blades and beating skeletons like they owed rent money. Even so, the undead numbers kept growing. So Gobru charged straight through the army while counting down in his head like an action movie protagonist. He managed to crush the monster, creating the skeletons 3 seconds ahead of schedule. After eating the creature, Gobru gained several ridiculous abilities. The kobolds then apologized and explained their stupidity caused the entire mess. Apparently, they accidentally dug into Velvet's old treasure vault and awakened the undead guardian called the Big Bad Skeleton. With nowhere else to run, they fled to Gobru's cave because his reputation as the terrifying black ogre had already spread everywhere. The kobolds immediately declared Gobru their lord, even though he openly reminded them he had killed plenty of their kind before. They accepted it because in the forest, the strong ruled the weak. Gobru had their injuries treated and then looked around at the bizarre army he somehow built by accident. Bro started as a stabbed loser and now ran a monster kingdom like some overpowered fantasy CEO. On day 61, Gobru and Gopkichi went hunting and spotted 12 armed humans moving through the forest. Gobru secretly followed them and used his eavesdropping ability to learn they planned to kidnap the elf chief's daughter. By day 62, he learned the human army planned to attack within 20 days. When the elf girl woke up, she panicked at the sight of him, especially because she accidentally revealed her hidden wings. Gobru realized she was actually a high elf, since regular elves normally did not have wings showing. The girl assumed Gobru planned to do horrible things to her until he calmed her down with tea. She became furious after learning her guards died, blaming Gobru for not interfering sooner, and pointed out her people should worry more about the traitor among them, or returning home. Later that night, he once again had to stop Gobji from acting like a goblin registered offender around the elf girl. On day 63, Gobru escorted her back to the elf village. She explained that high elves normally hid their wings inside their bodies, but she still struggled controlling hers. The second they arrived, Gobru sensed 25 hidden archers aiming mithril arrows directly at him. Thankfully, the chief's daughter quickly thanked Gobru properly, but Gobru made it clear he did not save her out of kindness. He wanted compensation and wanted to see what kind of leader the chief really was. Surprisingly, the chief handed over a legendary family treasure called the Fail-Not Bow. Even the daughter looked shocked he would give away something so valuable. The chief considered his daughter's life worth far more. Gobru accepted the reward and in return shared information about the human army movements. Relations between the goblins and elves improved immediately, and the elves even provided mithril equipment for Gobru's people. When the chief asked if Gobru knew anything about several missing elite elf warriors, Gobru played dumb so smoothly he deserved an acting award. Before they left, the chief also gifted Gobru some premium liquor, and that night Gobru practically ascended after tasting how insanely good it was. On day 64, Gobru discovered Gobmi evolved into a Dhampir variant. At the same time, 8 more hobgoblins evolved as well. Control massive amounts of ice. Her evil eye ability could even manipulate enemies into attacking each other. His brain could not fully connect the dots. Changed tattoos in different places across their bodies. They claimed the markings granted power, which instantly made Gobru curious, because this man collected abilities like Pokemon cards. Since everybody evolved so much, Gobji decided it was finally time to assign new names and titles. A race ranking chart also revealed that ogres ranked 5th among the stronger races, sitting below Dhampirs and lords. Gobru already suspected the elves would eventually request military support once the war began, so he distributed communication earrings to the newly evolved goblins. The captured elf girls hated the earrings though, because touching elf ears was apparently super taboo. Gobru refused to give up and fully intended to bully them into accepting fantasy Bluetooth technology. To train the new recruits, Gobru summoned lower undead and completely demolished. Later, the smith girl proudly revealed she upgraded Gobru's damaged axe using spirit stone, iron, and mithril. She had evolved into an elemental smith and turned the weapon into something far deadlier. On day 67, Gopkichi nervously admitted he had feelings for Gob. Gobru already knew because subtlety did not exist in this village. Since Gopkichi had zero clue how romance worked, Gobru helped set up a plan. That night, Gopkichi confessed his feelings, and surprisingly, Gob accepted him. The next morning, Gopkichi fought with so much energy during sparring that even Gobru noticed the difference. Apparently, love really was the greatest performance-enhancing drug in the forest. During another hunt, Gobru encountered these after eating them. The best one was Exoskeleton. When he activated it, he transformed into what basically looked like a tokusatsu superhero. The armor could absorb impacts, repair itself, and switch between 5 different forms. Gobru thought it looked embarrassingly flashy, but Gobmi absolutely loved it. One form already used Red Bear traits, so he decided future forms should specialize in air and sea combat too. He immediately registered a bug mosquito. And finally, your day, my day, day 69 came. The rain was pouring non-stop while the fiery red had been improving fast lately, and Ogro realized she was no longer the scared little puppy from before. Now she moved like an angry Doberman, with lazy classmates. Focus on mass-producing normal versions instead. The chef sisters also ranked up and earned the title of head chefs after recreating foods from Ogro's old world, including potato chips. Honestly, the Goblin village was one burger recipe away from opening a fantasy food court. Later, Ogro visited the alchemist girl to discuss magical items. Fortunately, the other girls walked in right when he collected abilities. On day 70, several elves arrived carrying a message from their chief. Thanks to Ogro's illusion earrings, goblins disguised themselves as dark elves while the visitors passed through the village. The elves explained the human forces were moving again, and the elf tribe could not survive alone anymore. They wanted as long as the humans got wiped out completely. Ogro accepted the job, but only under his own terms. He handed the elf messenger a communication bracelet so they could exchange information remotely. Since Gobru already had blood clones scouting the forest constantly, the man, after gathering everyone on day 71, the Parabellum crew deployed for their first real mission, with 36 members plus monster familiars boosted by Spellse's magic, bringing their total force to 73. Using intel from one of his scouts, Ogro located the human base surrounded by a magical barrier. He shattered the barrier using an ability hidden in his silver arm, while Earthy sealed every escape route with earth manipulation. Dami and Spellse unleashed coordinated magic attacks while Ogro flooded the battlefield with summoned skeletons and endless spears. Even with all that chaos, the human forces somehow kept fighting back. Their defense was led by a powerful Lady Knight who immediately realized the Black Ogre controlled the undead army. She rallied the humans and charged straight at Ogro. The human mage buffed her speed while Ogro openly complimented her tactics and battle instincts. She even aimed directly for his heart, but despite her skills, Ogro still shoved her back with overwhelming power. Then, this lunatic calmly announced that he liked the human elites enough to keep them alive as prisoners. The Lady Knight hated that idea and demanded he prove his strength first. She declared that if he defeated her, he could do whatever he wanted. Ogro then ordered his forces to kill everybody except the Lady Knight, the mage, the priestess, and the fire sword user. Those four had to survive. Everybody else was free game and future dinner. What followed was an absolute massacre. The Goblin side dominated the battlefield without losing a single soldier. The Lady Knight still managed to land one hit on Ogro though, which impressed him because almost nobody could even touch him anymore. Suddenly, the human mage prepared a devastating 5th level spell and begged the Lady Knight to run. Spellse immediately realized the attack was insanely dangerous and worried even Ogro might not survive. To make things worse, the Lady Knight deliberately stayed behind to make sure Ogro took the blast directly. The mage apologized before unleashing the spell. But Ogro calmly declared the battle already belonged to him because he had no intention of letting the knight die. In front of everyone, he combined 3rd level demise magic with the vacuum shield from his silver arm and several other abilities to create a massive magical barrier. The resulting shield blocked the dragon level spell completely. Even Spellse looked shocked because pulling off something like that should have been impossible. The battle ended in total victory for Parabellum. Later, Ogro celebrated with another giant feast while absorbing even more abilities from the battlefield corpses, because therapy apparently did not exist in this world. The elves celebrated the victory too, while Ogro checked on the captured human elites who were still recovering from getting completely folded. By day 72, Ogro explained that thanks to the communication earrings, prisoners could no longer hide information or lie effectively. The elf elder practically begged for the gathered intel and offered alcohol as payment. Naturally, Ogro accepted instantly because that man treated liquor like sacred treasure. Using the communication tools, Ogro passed along the prisoners' information about the humans' next attack routes. The human army planned to surround the elves from every direction using overwhelming numbers. Armed with this knowledge, the Parabellum crew prepared traps and ambush positions across the battlefield. Soon, 500 heavily armored knights and 100 mages marched into the forest. Ogro admitted that if the elves fought them head-on, the battle would have dragged on forever. For Parabellum, though, it basically turned into military target practice. Ogro launched the attack while his forces sealed escape paths and crushed enemies with falling boulders. The knight numbers dropped from 500 to 300 almost immediately. Pitfalls, arrows, and traps kept reducing their forces until fewer than 100 knights remained. At that point, the human commander impressed Ogro by ordering his men to create makeshift walls from anything nearby, temporarily stabilizing the battlefield. Ogro responded by sending Gopkichi directly at the commander. Human soldiers fought desperately, but Parabellum overwhelmed them completely. Gopkichi eventually smashed through the commander's defenses, while the commander realized every aspect of his opponent was monstrously abnormal. Ogro complimented the commander's skills, but the outcome was obvious from the start. After another total victory, Gopkichi later admitted the commander reminded him of Ogro, but Ogro could not see the comparison. Then Dami suddenly appeared and casually announced she wanted to have Ogro's baby. Bro nearly got ambushed harder by that confession than by the human army. On day 74, the captured knights struggled more with humiliation than imprisonment. Their commander told them to stop complaining because they still had food and shelter. The noble knights mocked him for being a commoner, claiming he could never understand the shame of capture. Later, the commander explained the true reason behind the war. A princess from the human kingdom suffered from a rare disease with almost no cure. Since she was promised to another empire's king, the humans desperately searched for treatment and eventually learned that the elves possessed a sacred medicine, blessed by a forest demigod. In the end, the entire war came down to greed and desperation. Later, during a mining session, Earthy accidentally created a natural hot spring underground. Everyone initially thought they were under attack until they realized the water boosted healing, cured illnesses, and even improved skin quality. The whole village immediately became addicted to the bath, while Ogro praised Earthy for discovering the greatest quality of life update in Goblin history. By day 75, Ogro introduced a new training system using the captured human knights. The exercises focused on leadership and battlefield command using simulated wars. Spellse controlled defensive units while Dami commanded archers, both proving surprisingly talented at strategy. Gopkichi and Blue Desado, however, kept losing repeatedly because brute force alone could not solve everything. The captured humans watched in complete disbelief as goblins casually practiced advanced military tactics better than actual armies. Eventually, the human commander admitted he was tired of fighting skeletons and wanted a one-on-one duel with Ogre himself. Instead of laughing, Ogre respected the man's courage. He even started calling him the Steel Knight. To make the fight fair, Ogre covered the knight in mana enhancement first. Then he unleashed part of his own power and charged him directly. Unfortunately for the commander, courage alone could not overcome a monster like Ogre. The duel ended with Ogre absolutely destroying him before healing him afterward. The Steel Knight later explained he grew up around demi-humans, so dealing with monsters never really bothered him. He looked around Ogre's village and saw goblins, kobolds, elves, humans, undead, and random monsters all somehow functioning together without killing each other every 5 minutes. The man honestly started wondering if Ogre had been sent by some divine force. Then, out of nowhere, he quit being a knight entirely and asked to serve Ogre instead. Ogre accepted immediately because collecting talented people was basically his side hobby now. He even assigned the fiery redhead girl to train under the Steel Knight, so she could learn proper human combat techniques, instead of just swinging weapons like an angry raccoon. Later, the Elf Elder agreed to care for the wounded humans, and Ogre asked about the secret medicine the humans were willing to wage war over. The Elder revealed it was the exact same medicine he had secretly given Ogre before. Apparently that stuff was so broken, it could cure almost any disease. Ogre could not believe the old elf casually handed him fantasy universal healthcare in a bottle. The Elder explained their laws only banned sharing it with humans, not with the ogre who saved his daughter. By day 81, Ogre's crew prepared for their third major battle against the human army. Before the fight even started, Ogre casually sniped a guy from 300 meters away using his legendary spear. The entire battle ended in few sane elves around, and thankfully the old man treated the humans kindly with food and drinks. The Elder was thrilled that Ogre had cornered. Since the elves kept paying well, Ogre agreed without complaint. On the way back, the Lady Knight approached Ogre and pledged complete loyalty to him. She requested permission to secretly send the elves' miracle medicine to the human kingdom so the sick princess could survive. Ogre immediately understood how there was one huge problem. This world were somehow even worse than internet comment sections, since Ogre carried blessings from the god of demise and origin. Giving humans the medicine directly could start an entirely new disaster. Still, he seemed to form a plan and promised to think about it. Day 83 finally arrived, bringing the final battle. The human side marched with 2,000 soldiers, while Ogre's combined goblin and elf forces numbered only 650. One unit, 8 legendary warriors called the Rugalid Orden. These monsters were blessed directly by gods and strengthened every ally fighting near them. The movie questioned whether that was smart since sunrise would soon destroy the skeletons. Ogre smirked and revealed he modified them. The skeletons marched directly into battle while Gopkichi's forces secured the perimeter. Meanwhile, one of the enemy braves man honestly believed the human army simply needed to try harder. The second he saw Ogre gathering massive amounts of blood and water into a giant attack, he realized things had suddenly become interesting. Ogre unleashed the attack and completely bone bug brave. The kid looked young, arrogant, and dangerously insane. Ogre immediately guessed his blessing came from the god of demonic insects because the dude had the eyes of somebody who definitely got banned from normal society. Filippo got annoyed hearing Ogre casually use his title and complained the war ruined his vacation. Even though he acted like a bratty teenager, the pressure radiating from his body proved he was in. Just to flex, Filippo transformed dead bodies into horrifying monsters and sent them charging at Ogre. Ogre tore through them effortlessly, which the fight intensified and Filippo became shouting to end things. Filippo summoned his favorite pet, a gigantic centipede considered a living natural disaster. The monster crushed Ogre instantly and injected venom so deadly, even tiny exposure could paralyze organs and kill people. Ogre's allies panicked, watching the poison take effect while enemies surrounded them from all sides. Filippo confidently assumed the fight was over as his centipede dragged Ogre's limp body away. Then, out of nowhere, Ogre vanished completely. Filippo barely dodged a surprise attack from behind and instantly lost his confused to accept that anybody could survive the centipede's venom, since his pet was already far. Before he could finish dramatically, Ogre interrupted by attacking again. Filippo instantly transformed into freshly cooked steak. The two clashed violently while Filippo became more frustrated, realizing the battle moved into the sky as Ogre slammed Filippo back into the ground repeatedly. Meanwhile, Ogre's crew secured the battlefield, though Dami suddenly sensed something terrible nearby. Filippo admitted he enjoyed the fight, but claimed immediately eating somebody afterward. The members of Parabellum had died in battle. Since corpses in this world could return as undead monsters, the fallen had to be cremated properly. Everyone mourned in their own way while offering prayers to their dead comrades. Oddly enough, Ogro himself did not feel overwhelming sadness, because the dead no longer had that option. On day 84, the massive battle rewards triggered a wave of evolutions throughout the crew. Habuji evolved into a half-saint lord focused entirely on healing and support magic. What shocked Ogro most was seeing goblins genuinely mourn their fallen comrades instead of only caring about themselves. The survivors vowed to grow stronger for the sake of those who died. Bro accidentally created emotional development in goblins. Even the kobold leader evolved into a warrior kobold and proudly declared he now looked fierce like Ogro. Honestly, he looked more like a mafia boss cosplaying as a fantasy character. He also received a true name, something only powerful individuals earned. Gobji explained that true names were extremely dangerous because enemies could use them for curses and special magic. Sharing one's true name was basically handing somebody the keys to your soul. Yet the kobold leader willingly shared his name with Ogro to prove absolute loyalty. Ogro decided to simply call him Akita instead. Later, Ogro dealt with the prisoners and surprisingly decided to free them. Those with nowhere to go could stay as probationary members of Parabellum. Some noble prisoners hated that idea because it meant ranking below goblins socially, and their arrogance immediately pissed off the entire cave. Ogro admitted the prisoners might individually be stronger than some goblins, but he trusted the goblins who fought beside him since day one far more than random humans. The three loudest complainers demanded leadership duels instead, mistakenly assuming Dami was the leader because apparently their brains short-circuited seeing a giant ogre bossing everybody around. Ogro calmed Dami down and agreed to humor them. He even challenged two fighters at once, which they called arrogant. The challengers revealed special orb weapons capable of boosting strength and repairing themselves. Even Gobji got weirdly excited watching the fight, like some goblin uncle attending illegal cage matches. Unfortunately for the challengers, Ogro absolutely demolished them instantly and beat down every other idiot brave enough to step forward. One gorilla-looking brute briefly landed a sneak attack and declared himself the new leader, only for Ogro to send him flying into next week. Ogro admitted the guy did well sneaking up on him, which was basically the nicest thing anybody said before destroying him. In the end, Parabellum gained 50 new probationary members. Gopkichi took charge of training them by forcing them to spar against undead monsters daily. Ogro also recruited dwarf smiths to work alongside the smith girl. The dwarves roasted her skills immediately but admitted she had talent. She hated their smug attitudes, but even she knew dwarf craftsmanship was basically fantasy engineering on steroids. By day 85, the crew began renovating the base and prioritized improving the hot springs first because apparently luxury baths now counted as diplomatic strategy with the elves. On day 86, Ogro started testing synthesized abilities on probationary members. Honestly, the man had crossed into mad scientist territory at this point. By day 87, the dwarf smiths presented Ogro with a special warhammer they proudly considered their masterpiece. Their explanation about how it worked went completely over his head though. Life had changed so much since his birth that now he actually needed to suppress his presence while walking through forests because monsters fled from him automatically. Later, Ogro visited the Dryad again to pick up something, though the nearby spirits warned him he would pay dearly once everyone realized he was obviously fooling around again. On day 88, Ogro announced plans to start farming. The Dryad had provided magical seeds that grew into fruits and vegetables faster than normal crops while also tasting better and providing more nutrients. Bro went from goblin survivor to fantasy agricultural entrepreneur. On day 89, some probationary recruits finally returned home. Even the arrogant noble prisoners left eventually, though not before Dami secretly brainwashed them first. Now Parabellum basically had spies operating inside both the kingdom and the empire. With the human army retreating, the elf elder thanked Ogro for all his help and threw a massive celebration feast. Ogro wondered if inviting a giant ogre warlord into sacred elf territory was really the smartest idea, but the elder explained the elves no longer saw Ogro's group as outsiders. He revealed his younger brother once broke elf law by venturing into the outside world searching for connections beyond the forest. The elder only wanted the forest to remain a safe place his brother could someday return to, and Ogro had protected that dream. Later, when everybody returned home, Earthy uncovered the last remaining spirit stones as a final tribute to Velvet and Returner of the Carbuncle. Ogro naturally ate the entire batch and gained another ridiculous pile of abilities. Then he got to work crafting again, fusing black skeleton bones with replica materials resistant to sunlight. The result was a gigantic skeleton centipede mount. Ogro planned to use it to escort the human girls safely back to a human town. The girls panicked, thinking he was abandoning them, but Ogro reminded them he promised from the beginning that he would someday return them home. Even if the girls decided to stay with him, Ogro still wanted them to return to human society first before making such a huge decision. By day 91, the upgraded hot spring was finally complete, and honestly, the Goblin Cave was starting to look less like a monster den and more like a suspicious fantasy resort. During training, the Steel Knight noticed the fiery redhead girl looked distracted. She admitted she felt nervous about returning to a human town after everything that happened. On day 93, everybody held a huge party before departure so the groups could bond properly. The three loud, drunk idiots from earlier started bragging about causing chaos once they reached town, though between all the drunken nonsense, they actually dropped useful information. Both the kingdom and the empire treated demi-humans like garbage, so getting inside safely would require help from nobles. On day 94, Ogro divided everyone into 4 separate teams. Their goals were simple: gather information about the outside world, solve internal problems quietly, level up constantly, and most importantly, survive. Ogro made it very clear he did not want anybody dying over stupid mistakes. As they finally departed, Ogro reflected on how much the forest had changed him. Still, he knew stronger prey waited outside, and this man's entire life philosophy basically boiled down to if it looks dangerous, eat it. On day 102, Ogro's group finally arrived at Trenny City, a place supposedly friendly toward demi-humans. Unfortunately, the moment people saw Ogro rolling into town riding a giant skeleton centipede like some undead Uber driver, everybody immediately panicked and prepared for battle. Thankfully, the human girls calmed the guards down before somebody accidentally started another war. Once things settled, Ogro received permission to stay in the city and rent rooms. After getting settled, he gathered the girls together for a serious conversation. While staying in town, he wanted them to decide honestly whether they truly wished to remain with him or return to normal human lives. He admitted he hoped they stayed, but deep down he knew they originally ended up with goblins because they had been kidnapped by the older generation. Meanwhile, the other girls spent the day selling goods throughout the city, while the redhead guided Ogro to the Adventurer Guild so he could officially register Parabellum. Unfortunately, the receptionist fainted too, so an old guild worker stepped in and explained Ogro needed official adventurer registration first before Parabellum could become a recognized mercenary company. After finishing the paperwork, everyone went shopping for clothes while Ogro secretly transformed into his old human appearance from his previous life. The others were shocked he could shapeshift so casually, but by this point, Ogro revealing random broken abilities was basically a daily event. Later, while walking alone through a dark alley, Ogro got surrounded by 6 thieves. For most people, that would have been terrifying. For Ogro, it looked like an all-you-can-eat buffet. After devouring them, he gained several criminal-related abilities and noticed all 6 wore rings with the same symbol. Realizing they probably belonged to a major gang, Ogro immediately decided staying uninvolved sounded smartest for once. Then he overheard another group of thieves extorting a knight nearby. The poor knight had brought ransom money to save a kidnapped princess, but the criminals suddenly demanded triple the amount while threatening to abuse her if he refused. Normally, Ogro would avoid political messes like this because kidnapping royalty screamed future headaches. But when the knight fought back and got beaten nearly to death, Ogro stepped in and folded the thieves instantly. After carrying the injured knight somewhere safe, the ungrateful idiot immediately started yelling at Ogro for letting the criminals survive. Ogro responded by smacking him upside the head because apparently common sense required physical installation nowadays. He explained he had reasons for keeping the thieves alive and revealed his true ogre form so the knight understood he was not dealing with some ordinary mercenary. The knight finally calmed down and explained everything. Apparently, the princess secretly snuck away from her guards because she thought wandering through the city alone sounded fun. Ogro assured the knight there was no need to panic because he already tracked the criminals using his blood abilities. Their hideout turned out to be an abandoned building in the middle of nowhere. Ogro wasted 0 time storming the place and found the princess locked inside a back room. While the knight checked on her, Ogro discovered documents revealing the kidnapping had been planned carefully from the beginning. After rescuing the princess, they burned the entire hideout down, and Ogro ordered the knight to keep everything secret. Unfortunately, the knight insisted on reporting something to the king, so Ogro solved the issue by having him hypnotized into silence. Honestly, at this point, mind control had become part of the daily routine. The next day, Ogro received good news from Seiji that the newest generation of goblins had been delivered safely. Even so, he still felt nervous because the girls now needed to decide whether they would truly stay with him. Deep down though, he already knew the answer. These girls had adapted to Goblin life way too well to suddenly leave now. Sure enough, they packed their bags and prepared to return to the cave with him. Right before departure, the rescued princess suddenly appeared and introduced herself properly. She explained she heard Ogre led a mercenary company and requested his help escorting her back to the royal capital. Ogre was honestly impressed by how mature she sounded despite looking young, and unlike most people, she showed zero fear standing in front of a terrifying ogre. Even so, Ogre rejected the request immediately because she already had plenty of bodyguards. The princess argued that those guards were boring and insisted she wanted somebody interesting like him instead. No matter how much Ogre tried explaining why she should stay with her own people, she completely ignored every word. At that point, even Ogre could not say no, especially since he already planned to visit the royal capital eventually. However, right before leaving, he noticed something very wrong. None of the princess's bodyguards were nearby. Turns out the princess ditched them again and wandered off alone to hire Ogre personally. Meanwhile, knights throughout the city were desperately searching for her. If anybody saw Ogre traveling with the missing princess, he could easily get mistaken for her kidnapper. Unfortunately, contracts in this world were absolute, so once Ogre accepted the mission, backing out was impossible. As the group traveled together aboard the skeleton centipede, the princess bombarded Ogre non-stop with questions about monsters, the centipede, and everything else she saw on the road. Surprisingly, Ogre answered patiently instead of losing his mind. Then, while spotting an animal nearby, he calmly decided it was time for lunch. Ogre and Dami spent the trip slaughtering animals and cooking absurd amounts of meat. Unfortunately, the real problem was the princess herself. That girl was a walking disaster magnet. She nearly jumped off the carriage multiple times, bothered the twins while they cooked, and constantly ignored common sense like it personally offended her. Eventually, Ogre had enough and gave her a solid smack to straighten her out. Shockingly, it actually worked. Later, the group discovered a nest full of turtle snakes hidden underground. The second Ogre heard there was fresh snake meat involved, his eyes practically lit up like a starving gremlin. Nobody else wanted to crawl into the dangerous nest, so Ogre used earth magic to drag the snakes out himself before slaughtering them one by one. He ordered the twins to prepare the sauce while the princess surprisingly apologized for her earlier behavior and offered to help with cooking. After seeing the princess mature a little, Ogre started viewing her differently instead of just seeing an annoying royal headache. Later during a break, Ogre invited the knight to join the group's morning training. The princess immediately wanted in too, though the knight objected because training with monsters sounded like a fantastic way for royalty to get folded accidentally. During the training session, he quietly observed both of them and learned a lot about their personalities. Later, while discussing the next travel route through the mountains, the knight recommended taking the safer river path instead of crossing dangerous canyon cliffs. Apparently, the mountains were home to terrifying jade eagles with poisonous claws and wings fast enough to strike like lightning. The moment Ogre heard powerful monster meat was involved, the safer route immediately died in his brain. The next day, they marched straight through the canyon. Ogre casually wiped out regular eagles and turned them into breakfast like it was nothing. But eventually, the real monster showed up. Ogre ordered everybody to stay inside the carriage no matter what, because this fight was actually dangerous. An entire hour passed while terrifying noises echoed outside. Some people started worrying, but Dami never doubted Ogre for a second. She openly declared that even if Ogre somehow died, she would personally kill the Jade Eagle herself or die trying. Eventually, the sound stopped, so the group peeked outside and instantly panicked. Ogre had lost an arm while the giant Jade Eagle still attacked relentlessly. What nobody realized was that Ogre had only been testing the bird's strength the entire time. Once he got serious, he casually grabbed his severed arm, ate it to regenerate, transformed into one of his monstrous forms, and one-shotted the eagle immediately. After killing it, Ogre discovered an incredibly rare spirit stone hidden inside the creature. The girls begged him not to eat it because the thing was supposedly worth an entire country's fortune. Naturally, he still ate the Jade Eagle meat and gained another pile of ridiculous abilities, plus a new transformation. While he admired his upgrades, the princess suddenly asked why he always ate every creature he killed. Ogre explained he believed consuming his enemies meant carrying the weight and resentment of every life he took. It sounded surprisingly deep coming from a guy who solved 90% of problems through eating things. By day 109, the group arrived at a human village where everyone immediately got terrified seeing Ogre. Humans in these regions hated demi-humans so much, they probably started racism tutorials in kindergarten. Thankfully, Ruberia showed her family crest and calmed everyone down. The villagers welcomed the group warmly and guided them to a beautiful waterfall and hot spring. After relaxing all day, The village hosted a huge celebration feast. To thank them, Ogro shared his alcohol stash with the villagers. Unfortunately, one drunk idiot got way too handsy and instantly received Dami's wrath. To lighten the mood, Ogro started a drinking contest with 4 silver plates as the prize. The problem was, Ogro physically could not get drunk anymore, so everybody else collapsed unconscious trying to beat him. While they all died spiritually from alcohol poisoning, Ogro casually ate fish nearby and unlocked more abilities because apparently seafood DLC existed too. On day 110, the group resumed traveling, while Ogro noticed the twins looked exhausted after cooking non-stop during the village festival. He volunteered to handle the meals himself so they could rest properly. Then day 111 arrived and everybody suddenly screamed for Ogro to stop the cart. The twins were pregnant. Worse, their bellies were growing at horrifying speed. Ogro instantly panicked and contacted Gobji because this man could fight god-blessed warriors but had absolutely zero clue how pregnancy worked. Gobji explained the babies were draining enormous amounts of nutrients due to their ogre blood. Human bodies simply were not built for this. If they failed to receive enough nutrition, the twins' bodies could literally burst apart before birth. Returning to the village was impossible because there was not enough time. Desperate, Ogro searched for shelter while the twins suffered unbearable pain. Potions barely helped, and they kept getting thinner as the babies absorbed everything from their bodies. Realizing ordinary food would never work fast enough, Ogro came up with the most insane solution imaginable. He ripped off his own arm and ordered the twins to eat his flesh raw for nutrients. Everyone froze in horror while Ogro stood there, acting like self-cannibalism was a perfectly normal medical treatment. The twins refused at first, but Ogro forcefully fed them himself, telling them they could hate him later as long as they survived now. After finding a nearby cave, Ogro had the 3 lords clear out the resident bears while he created makeshift beds using his abilities. The twins' swollen stomachs looked terrifyingly close to bursting, so Ogro used healing magic and anesthesia constantly to ease their suffering. Eventually, once one belly stopped growing, Ogro contacted Seiji through his blood clone and explained he was about to attempt something important for Parabellum's future. Using his abilities, Ogro created a surgical scalpel and carefully performed a magical C-section while continuously healing the twins at the same time. Somehow the insane procedure succeeded. The twins safely gave birth to a baby girl and a baby boy, while their wounds healed almost instantly thanks to Ogro's blood and powers. For once, Ogro looked genuinely emotional. The man was officially a father now. The princess held one of the babies and bluntly commented they looked like monkeys but were still adorable. Gobji immediately examined the newborns and discovered both babies had horns, confirming they were mixed-blood demi-humans. He explained mixed-blood children possessed incredible potential, but were hated by both humans and demi-humans alike. Most ended up treated like dangerous monsters by society. Gobji even offered to remove the horns while the babies were still young, but Ogro rejected the idea immediately. He declared that even if the entire world hated his children, he would still love them completely. Seiji backed him up, saying all of Parabellum felt the same way. Another strange detail was that both babies carried orb-like marks on their bodies, likely because Ogro himself contained numerous orb weapons and dragon spheres. Eventually, they named the girl Oro and the boy Argento. The twins Felicia and Alma recovered safely. Then, by day 112, the new father immediately decided to leave and search for another insanely powerful monster because apparently parental instincts only delayed his addiction to dangerous prey for about 12 hours. Ogro finally encountered a terrifying beast he named the White Stag. The moment he saw it, he instantly realized this thing was built different. Even if he fought with everything he had, he estimated only a 30% chance of survival. Ogro transformed and prepared for battle, but the White Stag completely ignored him. Then, out of nowhere, the monster casually shed its antlers and sprinted away like it forgot something at home. Ogro considered eating the antlers immediately for new powers, but his instincts strangely told him to save them for his children instead. Later, while exploring deeper, Ogro stumbled onto an elite joint force of humans and demi-humans fighting a massive boss monster. Just watching them move told him this squad was easily the strongest group he had seen so far. Even then, the boss monster still pushed them to the brink and prepared some insane magical attack to finish everyone off. Right before disaster struck, Ogro blasted the creature into oblivion using the weapon hidden in his upgraded arm. He honestly felt nervous testing the attack because the thing hit like fantasy orbital artillery. After storing the giant corpse inside his item box, Ogro focused on the adventurer squad. One human warrior stepped forward to protect the others, and for some reason, Ogro felt this guy might actually have defeated the boss eventually if left alone. He respected the man enough to spare the entire group and pretended he was simply sent to eliminate the monster. In exchange for keeping the corpse, Ogro healed their injuries before leaving peacefully. The human warrior stayed frozen after Ogro disappeared. Turns out he possessed an ability called Voice of Death that showed him possible futures. and every future involving a fight against Ogre ended with his entire squad getting slaughtered and eaten. Honestly, that skill probably traumatized him for life. After returning to the cave, Ogre found his kids already walking around somehow because apparently ogre babies skipped normal childhood entirely. Proud as hell, he fed them pieces of the white stag antlers and immediately noticed their abilities skyrocketing. Ogre and the fiery redhead tried the antlers too and gained 2 mysterious abilities marked with strange symbols. The craziest part was that tiny fragments caused those effects. Ogre instantly realized the white stag existed on a completely different level than anything he could currently handle. That night, his level surpassed another limit and unlocked a new evolution into an extinct species called Apostle Lord. Ogre accepted immediately and received a true name, Yatendoji. The evolution also promised additional abilities once certain unknown conditions were fulfilled later. On top of that, 8 members of Parabellum were promoted to demon generals. The next morning, everybody nearly lost their mind seeing Ogre's newest evolution. After leaving again the following day, more pregnancy chaos immediately started because apparently Ogre's entire bloodline operated on speedrun settings. They stopped near water, and this second birthing process went far smoother than the twins' nightmare delivery. Soon, Ogre officially became a father of 4. Emery gave birth to a powerful high orc son whom Ogre named Oniwaka, while Spinel had a normal human daughter named Nicola. The next day, the group arrived at their final stop, Purgatory. Once there, Ogre forced the princess into a disguise so nobody recognized her near the royal capital. He ordered the new mothers to rest at the inn while everybody else gathered information at the Adventurers Guild. At the guild, the redhead got excited seeing a free training arena and immediately wanted to spar. A bunch of adventurers noticed how terrifying Ogre looked and challenged him too. Ogre knew he could destroy them effortlessly, so instead he offered them a chance to fight the 3 lords. To make things interesting, he promised 5 silver plates to anyone who actually won. The second the matches started though, everyone realized they were hopelessly outclassed. Dami watched from the sidelines while admitting she could never participate because she would accidentally murder the challengers. Later, while shopping for supplies, Ogre discovered something that genuinely shocked him, a camera. Since he recognized it from his old world, he immediately bought it and spent the evening taking endless pictures of his babies like an overpowered soccer dad. That night, Ogre reflected on the dangerous journey still ahead before reaching Oswell. He also realized all the pregnancy madness distracted him from checking on the other Parabellum groups, so he contacted them using the communication earrings. First, he reached Blutzado's squad. Things were going smoothly except Spellse apparently discovered infinite money glitches by repeatedly using elf girls as bait for bandits, robbing the criminals afterward, then resetting the scam again. Ogre honestly could not even argue because technically her strategy worked. Finally, he tried checking on Gopkichi's squad. The second the communication activated, Ogre saw a horrifying vision of himself getting sliced clean in half. The image disturbed him enough that he immediately changed course and headed toward Maze City Grifos to check personally on Gopkichi. The princess surprisingly accepted the detour without complaint, pointing out they were already ahead of schedule anyway. Along the road, Ogre spent peaceful time with the girls and babies, while Dami quietly stared at an old necklace. Ogre recognized it instantly as the necklace he gave her back when he was still a bald goblin nobody respected. Only 4 months had passed, but it already felt nostalgic considering all the madness they survived together. Dami admitted she sometimes worried because Ogre kept evolving into stronger and stronger monsters while she still remained only a Dampier. On top of that, despite sticking with him since day 4 and taking enough backshots to start a percussion band, she still had not gotten pregnant. Ogre reassured her that no matter how powerful he became, his feelings toward her would never change whether she had children or not. The next day, the group finally arrived at Maze City Grifos. Since Gopkichi likely entered the dungeon there, Ogre headed straight toward the entrance. Right away, he encountered 2 adventurers sprinting out in absolute terror. They warned him about an unstoppable minotaur rampaging inside. Ogre immediately suspected that monster might actually be Gopkichi. After speaking with the city mayor, he learned adventurers had already been sent into the dungeon to eliminate the minotaur because it caused massive destruction. Realizing his idiot friend probably turned the dungeon into a war zone again, Ogre headed back toward the entrance to investigate the chaos himself. While waiting near the dungeon entrance, Ogre's group suddenly heard heavy footsteps approaching. Moments later, Gopkichi and Earthy finally emerged from the dungeon looking absolutely massive compared to before. Earthy casually dropped one unconscious adventurer onto the ground and assured everyone the poor guy was still alive, just folded beyond repair. Ogre immediately demanded an explanation about the terrifying vision where he saw himself sliced in half. Earthy explained that deep inside the lowest dungeon floor, they got attacked by a rare monster called the Mind Mirror. This thing copied the strongest being its target could imagine, so naturally it transformed into Ogre himself. Basically, Gopkichi ended up fighting fantasy copyright infringement. Gopkichi nearly got destroyed, but right before dying he evolved into a new minotaur species and unlocked enough power to kill the mimic. The vision Ogre saw was simply the exact moment the fake Ogre got cut down. All this panic could have been avoided if Ogre had just called twice instead of immediately assuming disaster. Still, Ogre relaxed after seeing Gopkichi evolve safely while Earthy had become a full Earth Lord too. Since they were already in town, everyone decided to stay overnight. Of course, before resting, Gopkichi instantly challenged Ogre to a sparring match because apparently emotional communication between these two only existed through attempted murder. They dug out a giant arena, while Gopkichi revealed he spent endless hours slaughtering monsters in the dungeon just to become strong enough to stand beside Ogre as an equal. Honestly, it was weirdly wholesome for two monsters trying to cave each other's skulls in. The battle began violently as Gopkichi slammed Ogre backward with a gigantic axe nobody else could even lift. Then the bastard chained lightning and fire together at the same time thanks to his evolution. Ogre resisted the lightning easily, but the flames still hurt since his fire resistance was lacking. Gopkichi pressed forward non-stop, forcing Ogre to finally get serious. Ogre countered with multiple elemental attacks and tried setting traps, but Gopkichi completely flipped the situation using a move called Phantom Bull. Things escalated further when Ogre activated one of his transcendent abilities to massively boost all his stats before bombarding Gopkichi with endless spear strikes. In response, Gopkichi burst into flames and turned the entire battlefield into a burning inferno. Hidden by the flames, he launched himself from above like a living meteor. Ogre countered with stone projectiles, but Gopkichi blocked them with his shield and kept falling straight toward him anyway. The impact nearly became a complete disaster because spectators, including Ogre's own children, were close enough to get caught in the explosion. Thankfully, Ogre contained the blast using air manipulation before anyone got hurt. Once the smoke cleared, Ogre realized Gopkichi's reckless attack could have killed innocent people. So instead of continuing the duel, Ogre activated his black demon powers, froze Gopkichi in place, and punched the absolute wisdom back into him with his giant hammer fists. While beating him senseless, Ogre remembered the first time he ever had to discipline his idiot best friend. At that point, he honestly was not even angry anymore. He just hoped Gopkichi landed somewhere safe after getting launched into the distance. By day 121, the group finally arrived at the royal capital, Oswell. Ogre admitted his battle against Gopkichi lasted all the way until morning because neither of them understood moderation. The massive capital impressed him immediately, while Ruberia explained the city thrived thanks to generations of wisdom and planning. She thanked Ogre properly for protecting her throughout the journey and invited everyone to stay at the palace for a huge feast. That night, the girls struggled sleeping because the luxurious rooms were way too fancy compared to their old cave life. Meanwhile, the babies adapted instantly because infants apparently feared nothing. On day 122, Ruberia rewarded Ogre not only with payment, but also with an official endorsement letter allowing him to freely move around the capital without harassment. Ogre questioned why she trusted him so easily despite barely knowing him. Ruberia then revealed she had been quietly analyzing him the entire journey. She explained that Ogre carefully balanced risk and reward in both combat and business, making him far too intelligent to recklessly antagonize an entire kingdom. Ogre suddenly realized the Innocent Princess Act had been partly an act all along. This girl had been politically profiling him the whole trip like a smiling little mastermind. Before leaving, her right-hand knight explained the guards prevented her from seeing them off personally. Ogre simply wished the young knight luck with his training and departed. Secretly though, he already planted blood replicas throughout the capital for future surveillance because paranoia had become a lifestyle at this point. On day 124, Dami admitted she felt insecure because she remained stuck at level 89 while everyone else kept evolving. Ogre reassured her immediately and offered to train together whenever she wanted. Dami accepted, and Ogre suddenly stopped the entire caravan so everyone could participate in her training arc. He summoned giant monsters while Dami fought with everything she had, taking down over 30 beasts before collapsing from exhaustion. Ogre comforted her and praised her progress, but shortly afterward he started feeling unusually sleepy too. The alchemist explained they both suffered mana depletion, something Ogre never experienced before due to his absurd mana reserves. Thankfully, Thankfully, it happened during training instead of real combat. That night, Dami dreamed about a strange black void. Then, on day 125, everyone woke up to discover Dami evolved into a vampire noble variant with the true name Hekaterina. She proudly declared herself Ogro's official wife now, while trying and failing to act all elegant and noble. The group finally returned home to the forest cave where everything started. Ogro expected the same dark, miserable cave from before, but instead found the entire place transformed. The other groups proudly revealed they renovated everything as a surprise because usually Ogro was the one constantly shocking people. The cave now had proper farms, upgraded housing, familiars everywhere, a dryad resident, and even talking cats who contributed absolutely nothing to combat but were adored because they looked cute. Right in the middle of the celebration, Seiji suddenly rushed in announcing Gobji had collapsed. Ogro sprinted to the old goblin immediately. Knowing death was close, Gobji insisted on speaking one last time. Ogro introduced him to his grandchildren, and the old goblin laughed, seeing how the tiny goblin baby he once raised had somehow grown into a monster, leading an entire family and army. Before Gobji passed away, Ogro revealed his apostle lord name would now officially be Aporu. Ogrekichi became Minakichi, while Dami became Kanami. Gobji roasted the names for sounding basic as hell, only for everyone to remind him he invented the naming system in the first place. The old goblin laughed one last time, amazed one of his goblin children actually evolved into an apostle lord before peacefully dying. As they buried him, Aporu reflected on how cruel goblin lifespans were. Gobji was barely in his 20s, yet already gone. Still, Aporu realized life mattered more because of the people surrounding him. To honor Gobji's memory, Aporu immediately announced Parabellum's first grand fighting tournament. Everyone got hyped instantly, including his own children wanting to participate despite barely existing for 5 minutes. The rules banned weapons and lethal injuries, though considering this crew, even friendly sparring looked like natural disasters. Kanami warned Spellse she evolved far beyond her now, only for Spellse to reveal she learned terrifying new magic herself. Earthy fought Blutsato while the fiery redhead girls battled too. In the final rankings, Aporu took first place, Minakichi second, Kanami third, Earthy fourth, Blutsato fifth, and Spellse sixth. Afterward, the twins served food while everyone celebrated together. Watching his family and companions laugh together made Aporu happier than winning any tournament ever could. By day 127, Ruberia contacted Aporu again, requesting another job. Aporu immediately suspected she was scheming because he already understood how dangerous her smiling brain worked. She explained she wanted to spread Parabellum's fame across the kingdom, which would massively increase the company's influence and profits. Aporu already knew she was baiting him with rewards and future opportunities, but he accepted anyway because the payout was too good to ignore. Soon enough, Aporu and the entire Parabellum squad geared up and prepared to head back toward the royal capital once more. Unfortunately for him, what sounded like another profitable mission was about to spiral into something far bigger than expected. And that's how a dude who started off as a bald goblin eating maggots somehow became an apostle lord with a monster army, 5 kids, 20 different wives ready to throw hands over him, and enough powers to traumatize entire kingdoms. If you actually survived this whole recap, then congratulations. Your attention span is officially stronger than most anime protagonists. Now let's separate the real fans from the NPCs. Comment Goblin CEO if you knew Ogro was going to turn one random Isekai life into a full-blown monster civilization speedrun, and smash that like button, subscribe, and let the algorithm know it just underestimated a man who solved every single problem by either throwing hands or eating the damn problem alive.